Hello, everybody. How's it going? Happy hump day. Hopefully it's going well for you. Well, I'm here doing more league start awesomeness. This league is great so far. I haven't really gotten to play too much. Path of Exile League, that is. I haven't gotten to play too much so far. I'm about 2/3 of the way through the campaign. Well, that's good enough. Good enough. It's been a lot of fun. So yeah, I figured I'd talk about work hours in medicine today because one of my friends, one of my partners actually, sort of religiously logs his work hours, and we were talking about that today. We recently upgraded pretty substantially. So, hey, good gosh darn, what's up? How's it going, man? But yeah, we upgraded by going up a person, and our lives improved dramatically because of that. We no longer take 24-hour call, we just do 16s, so yeah, we'll talk about that, and that's not the trend in medicine, as maybe you'll find out. But, there is that, and also, just serendipitously, Medscape emailed their yearly compensation report, which is not quite the, be-all, end-all of, how much time do I spend doing notes? Probably more than I think, to be honest. Unlike most, clinic workers, like primary care people who, see people in clinic all the time, I don't do any of that after hours. But I do spend a really big amount of time just, clicking through radio buttons. I am fortunate in the fact that most of my job is documented through just computer programs where you have to, say, yeah, I saw this patient in pre-op. Yeah, this patient says they have this, and you just, check the box, And we do, our EMR is called iPro, and it's not my favorite. It gets the job done. It's sort of a little too user-friendly in a sense that it's super simplistic and there's not a whole lot of ways to streamline your workflow. So you're stuck sort of just clicking through the same shit all the time instead of putting a template or some sort of macro in. It doesn't let you do that. So that sort of blows. And as a result of that, like I said, I think I end up actually spending a fair amount of time charting stuff. Scribes next quality of life. Well, hopefully the hospital actually gets an EMR that's worth a shit. So they suffer right now from having multiple different EMRs, which is for some reason something a lot of hospitals struggle with. I don't know, I guess it's a cost thing. I think it's a penny wise pound foolish issue where they get an EMR and then they figure out that EMR doesn't really work for some new site. Maybe they open a new clinic or, they expand operations or something like that. And they're like, oh shit, well that doesn't work anymore. And then they get a different EMR because it's cheap. Instead of just throwing everything out and getting a system that's integrated across all of their sites of service and expandable into new sites of service, they just kind of piecemeal it and everything gets all fucked up, and that's kind of where we are right now. Favorite EMR? I would say Epic is probably my favorite, yeah. Cerner is pretty good though. I feel like Cerner, I feel like it's almost like Apple versus Windows, where Epic is Apple and Cerner is Windows. And what I mean by that is I feel like Cerner is a little bit more advanced user-friendly, where you can kind of build your own shit in and customize things a little bit more. But Epic is still plenty good in that regard. But you have to get, somebody from the company to actually put in all of the, widgets and crap that you want. And maybe that's changed. I haven't used either program actually in 6 years, so they may have, sort of added a little bit of user-friendliness on that level, but I don't know. Yeah, we use Sunrise, the main hospital uses Sunrise. We use iPro. Those two do interface pretty well. Our surgery center uses something else. I can't even remember what the hell it's called. And then I think the clinics use something else too. So that's not exactly awesome. I mean, one of these days I feel like you know, we'll get this sort of like central cloud kind of situation going on where all different EMRs like, you know, pool into this hub so you can actually see, you know, like if somebody gets all their care at one hospital but then like comes to your hospital, you can see all that stuff, you know, and you don't have to just like call the hospital for that. They just have like some sort of, you know, consent form that they sign that allows like, you know, we already have HIPAA laws in place, so looking up somebody's, you know, protected health information is already illegal if you don't have consent to do so, or a need to do so. So that's not, that, you know, sharing health information across health systems wouldn't be an issue in that regard. So you just sign some sort of like central consent form that allows that to happen, and then you're good. How is that not built yet? I don't know, but whoever does that will be a trillionaire. That will be such a good idea. Yeah, whoever makes that happen is going to just absolutely be flooded with more money than you could possibly imagine. Because, like, all healthcare will flow through your, you know, your apparatus, your program, basically. And given that healthcare is like a $10 trillion industry, that's probably pretty valuable to whoever comes up with a way to do it. I mean, it doesn't... I mean... I don't know how to do it, but given all of the, like, cloud computing and stuff that we already have, it doesn't really seem like much of a stretch, honestly. It's just a matter of getting all the, you know, institutions to agree to it and, you know, send all their shit over and allow you access. Because that would be, you know, a potentially devastating info leak if somebody got into that database. I don't know. I am surprised that that's not at least like, you know, somebody hasn't at least attempted that. It seems like such an obvious thing to do. Yeah, the politics and the legalities probably get very much in the way, I'm sure. But yeah, that's one of those things that, you know, every now and then you come up with an idea that you know is like a surefire victory, but you just, like, the practicality of it, like, or your personal ability to make that happen is so limited. Like, I can't do that. I can't unify the nation's healthcare systems in a, you know, giant database of working togetherness. It's just not gonna happen. But somebody could. But yeah, from the patient side, like I said, all of that legality is fine. You know, that's settled. Like, HIPAA laws exist. We already work with confidentiality, you know, constantly anyway. So, yeah. You figured out the Prime sub? Congratulations. And thank you for contending with that, by the way. It's really not necessary, but I do appreciate it. As always, I am more than happy to take Amazon's money. Always a good time when a deadly sick patient walks into the ED with a 20-pound stack of paper. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, part of the problem, so this sort of ties into what, like, the work hours thing that I was mentioning is, or that will be, you know, at least the main medical topic tonight. So when you get transfer records, I don't know if you've seen this or not, like, having been in the ED, but if you ask for, like, a patient's records from another place, most of the time those patients have been inpatient there, and at that other place, and we require our nurses to do an absolutely ludicrous amount of documentation. Or said another way, nurses learn to do an absolutely ludicrous amount of documentation for one reason or another, whether it's a cultural thing or a legal thing. I'm not entirely sure, maybe both. But it's certainly not a patient care thing, because what they're documenting is utterly useless most of the time. So what that means is that all of those nursing notes get printed out and sent to you when you request records from another hospital. So, like, you get all records, not just the ones that matter. Like, really what you want is probably, like, the history and physical, like, when they get admitted to the hospital, you know, maybe, like, a surgery note, like an operative note, maybe a discharge summary that, you know, goes through their treatment course and what happened to them while they were in the hospital and what fixed them. Or what didn't fix them and, you know, why they're now in a hospice house or whatever. You know, something that sort of, like, gave you, you know, some idea of what the hell is happening. Do I not have all the fireflies? Oh no, that's so shitty. Do I have to go back there? How did I miss fireflies? That's like the easiest thing to do ever. Okay. It's stupid. Alright, back we go. I think I killed Gruthkull. Yeah, I did. But yeah, it would be super nice to have a centralized service where you don't have to waste time looking through all those things, right? That's all, like, already electronically sifted for you. That would be super duper useful. And so many people. At least the sentence reset. True. That is true. But yeah, so many people, like, do weird stuff like that. Like, and that happens here in the city all the time. Like they'll go to KU or something for, like, all their treatment, and, like, that's where the cardiologist is. They've been hospitalized there before. You know, they have, like, 3 other specialists that they see there. And then they come to our hospital, and, you know, they're having surgery, or they get admitted there, and it's just like, what? Why? Like, KU is, like, literally a 15-minute drive away. It's not far. Like, just go there. That's where all your doctors are. They have all of your records. Go there. But if you had, you know, again, centralized service, that wouldn't be a problem. Because you're just like, oh, that's kind of weird. I don't know why you made that choice, but I'll just look up all your stuff, and then we're good to go. So, yeah. So I suppose that's a good way to lead into sort of the main point that I was going to make is the TLDR of tonight is quality of life upgrade. Yeah. Dude, having a scribe would be awesome. I would love that. But yeah, the take-home point of tonight is doctors are working more than ever for kind of the same-ish money, and there are lots of reasons for that. So we'll go through a lot of those reasons, but first, after I finish this, we need to look at the Medscape physician income survey. It is not MDMA data, or excuse me, MGMA data, which is like kind of the main, most commonly used and most comprehensive physician data available that I'm aware of, at least. We look at that on stream pretty often. I have the complete 2021 MGMA data, and that's very helpful to see. Yeah, MGMA data, exactly. Yeah, not quite what I meant. But yeah, the Medscape data is still something. You know, it's all like people who choose to respond, and I think they get, like, you know, 5-digit physicians, you know, 20,000 people responding usually. So it's decent. It's worth a look. One frickin' firefly, son of a bitch. Had to go through this whole damn hole just for that one thing. All right. Lightning Spire trap. Probably gotta go sell stuff anyway. That's what she said. That is what she said. That is, in fact, what she said. Alright, let's sell some stuff, and then we're gonna have a look at the Medscape data. And I have not looked at this, by the way, so this will be my first look. I have a pretty good idea what it says, but, because I do sort of keep up with that sort of thing. Because, you know, I like to know what I should be getting paid. Imagine that. Do I want that? Damage penetrates cold res. Nope. Yeah, sell that. Cool. That'll do, pig. That'll do. Sure.
Yes, I thank you. There's an Asmeri.
Nope, don't want that. Solid try, I guess. How many hours do I actually work a week on the books and off? There is no such thing as off the books work for me, which is kind of what, so what brought this up actually is, I mentioned this like right when I went live, but the, what brought this up is we recently had a change in our staffing. So we went up a doctor back in April, and now we no longer take 24-hour calls, but we take 16-hour calls. And one of the, so we hired 2 people. One of them replaced a guy who retired, and the other was the extra person. And one of those people was a guy I did residency with, actually. So he's a good friend of mine. And he just happens to religiously track his hours. That's something that he's, like, always done, and it's not like, you know, he's not, like, trying to prove anything with this. He just does it for his own, you know, his own information. So I was asking him today about like what his work hours looked like. And so the short answer to your story is right now we're working about 40-hour weeks, and that includes our call time. Our calls are generally fairly light. You know, we'll typically get called after hours, and by that I mean like, you know, 10 p.m. and later, say. We typically get called like once or twice a night. And usually it's an epidural, like a labor epidural. So you just go, like, our call room, I stay at the hospital. We don't have to, we have home call. So, but I just choose to because I live, like, almost too far. You have to be there in 30 minutes, and I would have to, like, wake up and, like, literally run out the door to make it there, because I live, like, 25 minutes from the hospital. So I don't want that discomfort or that stress. And also, I figure that any anesthesia emergency sort of warrants me being there, so it's just kind of personal comfort level. But anyway, the point is, we usually sleep like, you know, 6-ish hours on call. So 40 hours a week, 1 call every 8 days. So if you multiply 6 by 7/8, that's what, like 5-ish. So subtract 5 out of 40. So I actually work like 35 hours. So you ask a good question. So on and off the books. So where a lot of physicians get caught up is the off the books work. So if you look at, say like a family practice doctor, like their primary work is in clinic. So they see patients in clinic, and when they describe their work requirements, they will say how many clinic hours are required of them. And I honestly don't know a whole lot about family practice jobs, but as I understand it, typical clinical hours are like 30-ish, something like that, for a week. But, you know, you're probably going to run over. Your clinic will be longer than 30 hours. Unless you are a real hard ass and also very efficient. And just, like, kick people out and cut them off and stuff if they, you know, start to, like, run over there a lot of times. So you're going to run over that, and you also have to, like, answer emails, answer phone calls, do a whole bunch of charting, and, like, all this other crap that's going to really stack up. And it seems like you could do that pretty efficiently, which a lot of people can, but, you know, if you're, like, trying to make any money, you're seeing 40 people a day, and that stacks up fast. You know, at least, like, 30. So you've got a lot of extra stuff to do. So I mean, if you think about it, like even if you spend 2 minutes per patient, which, you know, doesn't sound like a lot and isn't a lot, that's an extra hour a day, right? And doing charting and, you know, phone calls and random nonsense. That's an hour. That's a lot. That's a lot of extra time. So you kind of get nickel and dimed for stuff like that, time-wise, pretty easily in a lot of clinic jobs and a lot of, well, pretty much everything really. So good gosh darn was asking how much time I spend. Sorry, my microphone stand is screwing up. I'm screwing it back in. There we go. I think we got it. Sorry for the bumps and annoyingness. Yeah, so the answer is I spend a lot of time charting, but I do it on the fly. So I do it like while I'm working. I never ever stay late to chart. I mean, if I do, it's like something I forgot and I just like, you know, it takes me 10 minutes tops at the end of the day to just like clean something up. And again, most of the things that I do are just like hit radio buttons. And anymore with software like Epic or Cerner that we were talking about earlier, there are a lot of ways to sort of automate these things, which is good and does indeed save you quite a bit of time. But you know, you still have to like actually type out a lot of things. You know, you can have sort of like, they call them dot phrases, but it's basically just like a canned command. Like you can type like dot note or something and it brings up like a standard healthy person note, and then you just go through and change whatever needs to be changed. So you can certainly save yourself time. Do I think it's worth going for your paramedics before medical school? If you're already an EMT, I would say no. I don't think that that's valuable to you, because you pretty much get the same experience, right? There's not like a whole difference in functionality there. Yeah, I think as long as you're, you know, getting sort of a feel for the field, there's a very large difference in what you do, like in the calls you run and stuff. That's what I'm talking about. I know there's a difference in ability and like pay and stuff, but are you seeing the same things? Because that's really what you should base your decision on. And really, like, as far as informing your decision to go to med school, but your medic does all the cool stuff. Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, that would be, if you want to, like, get your hands dirty, so to speak, both literally and figuratively, I guess, then, yeah, I mean, if that's something that you're, like, really interested in, then sure, go for it. But I think, you know, from a purely, like, qualifying you for med school standpoint, then there's not really much of a functional difference. But yeah, I mean, it's never don't do something for what's a better way to say that? You know, if you're interested in a thing, do it for your interest in that thing, rather than like, you know, does it qualify you for med school or not? I mean, that's pretty much the best way I can put that. What do I want here? Yeah, I'll take a jade flask, sure. But yeah, that's really good experience. You know, you're dealing with patients, you see a bunch of like crazy shit, and hopefully won't like pass out when you go into clinics and surgery and stuff, because you know what to expect. Which is a surprising advantage, believe it or not. I want 50 life. But yeah, being an EMT or paramedic, those are both like very useful things to have done, I think. Because you do see some like really gruesome crap. And if you're thinking about emergency medicine, that's very useful experience. Or anesthesia, really. Anesthesia and emergency are like kind of surprisingly close cousins. Nastiest thing you've seen is a complicated airway. They do get gross. They do get real gross. Blood and spit and all sorts of nasty shit everywhere. Amran, what's up, man? How are you? Oh, you know what? I totally forgot the Medscape survey. Let's do that. Wish emergency paid better. Yeah, well, we're about to see how much indeed it pays. Last time, I mean, emergency actually does pay pretty well. All right, so here we go. This is the Medscape compensation report. It says this, but I don't think that's actually what it is. I think it's all physicians, but I guess we'll find out. Okay, intriguing trends. Gender-based improvement in gender-based pay disparity in primary care. Okay, great. General increase in pay. 10,000 physicians over 29 specialties. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so if somebody gets shot in the face, that's a really big airway problem. So I guess this is focused on anesthesiologists because they have all of my information courtesy of the AMA. So that's nice of them. So let's look at all of this. So plastics 619. So remember, this is just averages across regions, across like academics and private. You know, this doesn't there are no distinctions drawn here at all. When the gunshot opened a new patent airway, sometimes you can do that. I've seen that that negotiated before, actually, believe it or not. Like, I've seen a guy with a tube in a like basically a wound in his neck. It was a knife wound, actually, and he'd been stabbed in the face a couple times, and so the paramedics in the field just like put a tube in his neck. And it's like ghetto as hell, and we had to change it, but it's still, I mean, saved the dude's life. But yeah, so this is all just like blended numbers, and you know, rural, urban, all regions, you name it. So things to keep in mind with this: private practice typically earns quite a bit more than academic. Rural places earn quite a bit more than urban, and undesirable locations earn more than desirable ones. So basically that means like the middle of the country pays better than the coast. Right, so let's get into it. For employed physicians, compensation figures include salary, bonus, and profit sharing contributions. Okay, but not retirement. So that's important. Only full-time salaries included. Yeah, well, that makes sense. For self-employed physicians, they include earnings after tax. Before income tax. Okay, got it. Yeah, got it. Okay. Let's see here. Who's up, who's down? Oncology is up 13%. Now, that is interesting. GI is up 11. So that's odd, because I actually thought that GI was kind of on the downslide. What did they have here? 501? Seems low. Seems low for GI. But maybe I'm wrong. Up 10% though, or 11%. Hard to argue with that. Psych is up 8. Psych is definitely becoming a lot more popular. I think people are realizing that... So one, it works really well with telehealth. Psych is very easily adaptable to telehealth, and that has been, you know, obviously a big plus over the past few years. And I think people are figuring out that, you know, if you keep a busy schedule and you do private practice psych, you can make a fucking lot of money. Like, I know lots of psychiatrists charge like $500 an hour, which is badass if you can keep a full schedule and you can keep that rolling, and you can handle dealing with people's problems all day long. Psych is definitely not for me, but if it is for you, then more power to you. Plastics and I don't know why they just group those because they're both up 7%. Got it. Yeah, plastics is just going to continue to increase. It's, you know, a super valuable service with, you know, and people who have lots of disposable income go to plastic surgeons. You've been looking at emergency and anesthesia, but worried about mid-level encroachment. So mid-level encroachment in emergency medicine is a very real problem. I think the severity and the seriousness of it in anesthesia are grossly overblown. I feel like most CRNAs, specifically, because that's who we're talking about, most CRNAs aren't interested in solo practice. I think the few that are a vocal minority, and I also think that those people already have the jobs that they want. I don't think there's any, at least not in this area, there are no CRNAs who are, like, trying to convince hospitals, with the exception of the VA, that are trying to convince hospitals to, like, allow them to practice independently. They just leave. They just go somewhere where that's possible. Which, to be fair, may not be the case in other areas, but here, you know, I'm in Kansas City, so, like, you drive 30 minutes in any direction, and you're, you know, in the sticks. So those places are the ones that are more likely to hire solo CRNAs, because it's just cheaper. And hiring an anesthesiologist is kind of overkill for a lot of the cases they do, frankly. So, yeah, you are correct to be concerned, for sure, especially in emergency medicine, but there will be plenty of jobs available for you, and there will be no career squeeze. There's such a shortage of physicians, especially in anesthesia. And the anesthesiologists are, like, in a huge demand now, and I think that shortage, this is a shortage from COVID, because everybody retired. Anybody who was, like, kind of questioning whether or not they wanted to retire, they were just like, nah, fuck this, I'm out. So, and that's part of why you see all of these big salary increases, is there's such a shortage of labor that prices are going up. Are there dual residencies in EM and anesthesia? That is true, there are. That's a cool thing, but it doesn't do you a lot of good, because you kind of have to choose one or the other. So I think that's kind of one of those, like, fun academic things that they make you feel like it's a good idea, but it's really just a waste of a year. I think they're 5-year programs. So you think real hard before you do that. Am I happy with what I'm getting paid now that I've seen the report? Yes, I am. I have always been happy with what we make. Currently, we're, because of, like, very rapidly evolving local salaries, and by evolving, I mean increasing, we're actually sort of on the low end of pay in the city now. I mean, not, like, super low, but I'd say low average. But, as mentioned, our work hours improved dramatically. So, right at the moment, we're kind of trading a little bit of a little bit of pay for a lot of quality of life. And I'm okay with that. And we're kind of in the works of, like, we've been perpetually in a new contract talk for, like, over a year, and so we basically just kind of keep changing our demands based on what happens, because the hospital's sort of, like, dragging ass. They've had some, like, leadership changes, and, you know, their executives are turning over, and it's been a huge struggle to try to get anything concrete done. So that is definitely to their detriment, because the cost of labor is increasing dramatically. So they could have locked us in, you know, a year ago, but now they're going to be paying more. So the insurance side with brokers making $3 million. Exactly. Yeah, that is a frustrating aspect of medicine, is that it does have a very hard ceiling, as far as income is concerned. And I'm there. Right? We've talked about this on stream before. I'm there. I have met my earning potential for my career. So, you know, I would have to switch things up. I'd have to go into administration and climb that ladder, or, you know, branch out and do something totally different, like do consulting, have my own business, which I do already. What's up, man? Oh, you changed. You came back to your old name. What's going on? Bing Bong no longer. Am I in any specific subspecialty? No, I'm just just a lowly anesthesiologist. Yeah, but I actually, so one interesting aspect of community practice is that you do everything. So I do hearts, I do pediatrics, I do anything else that you can subspecialize in. I'm there. I personally, let's see, our hospital I think does like 150 hearts ish a year. I probably do 50 of those. Maybe a little less, 30 to 50, somewhere in there. A lowly anesthesiologist with more than 24-hour shifts. Yay! So Josh, how's residency treating you, man? I know we're only a month and a half in, but how's it going? What's the point of subspecializing? So there are several. So one, but that's a really that's a good question to ask. So first off, pain. Pain is very different than anesthesia. It's more like clinic and like quick one-off procedures. And it's also got more vertical options. And by that I mean you can make more money. So like if you just grind out procedures and you're just rocking it, you know, you're doing 30 to 40 back injections, like epidural injections a day, you can make $1 million. You can top 7 figures fairly comfortably if you do a private pain practice. So as for the other things, the other accredited subspecialties, which are, let's see, pediatrics, hearts, like cardiothoracic. I feel like there's one more. Somebody help me. Oh yeah, critical care. So critical care, I don't know why you would do that, because it's basically an extra year to get a job where you work harder, longer, with sicker patients, have worse outcomes, and you make less money for that. Usually make less money for that. And you also limit your employment options, because most of the time those jobs, like critical care jobs, are in like major hospitals. So, you know, unless you want to give that aspect of your practice up, you're probably going to have to go to one of those places. So yeah, critical care doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Cardiac and peds basically just improve your employability. You will probably get pigeonholed as the heart guy or the kids guy, assuming there's the volume to support that at whatever place you go to. And if you do go to a major medical center, like, you will definitely be the hearts guy or the peds guy. But some people are fine with that. But you have to ask yourself, is that worth a year of opportunity cost, right? Is that worth $448,000 to you to be slightly more employable? I mean, to me it wasn't. It wasn't at all. Grinding that intern year, huh? Yeah. Intern year is rough, man. What's your intern year like? Is it surgery, medicine? Is it a mix? There's all sorts of different ways to do that. I definitely remember feeling like a real grunt my intern year. I learned very little and put in a shitload of work. I think the only months that I really learned a lot, I did a renal consults month, which was super useful. I learned a lot in ICU. And I think that's about it. That's pretty much it. So 2 months out of my 12 were like quality learning experiences. Other than that, I was just getting shit done. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Neurology. Neurology is also another sort of increasingly popular specialty, and I don't really know why. Yeah, I find neurology really depressing. Maybe there are a lot of new drugs and treatments and stuff available, but historically neurology's sort of been like, hey, you have this terrible, progressive, and ultimately fatal disease. Isn't that fascinating? We can't do anything about it, really, but you've got it. Yay! So, endocrinology, those guys are woefully underpaid. They deserve a pay raise. ENT, cardiology, orthopedics, peds. Yeah, Pete, speaking of woefully underpaid, Jesus Christ. How many residents do I know continued living frugally once they were past their residency years? We did for like a year, I would say. But overall, I think that's rare, to be honest. If I were solo, that would have been me. I would have 100% done that. Like, if I didn't have a family, I would have stayed. Honestly, to be frank, I probably would have. I might have stayed with my parents for a while, because I lived, like, my parents had a duplex, and since residency's kind of a, like, fucked up way to figure out where you work, like, you have, like, a 4-month, or not even that, you have, like, a 3+ month window to find a place to live, and I just didn't want to mess with that. And so my parents have a duplex that's pretty close to the hospital I trained at, and my wife and I, now wife, just stayed there for the first year. So I might have stayed there for longer before getting a house, but we paid them rent, so it wasn't free, but it was easy. It's amazing what women will do to you. So true. So true. How did I pay for med school? I just took out loans, and I'm kind of happy I did now. I mean, there are lots. The HPSP is military commitment is not what I would choose. So the general advice is, unless you would join the military anyway, don't do that. Here's why. So first off, you often are dictated to what specialty you can choose. Yes, agree. Only do yeah, exactly right. So they have like, and I don't fully know how this works, so I'm probably gonna sound like a huge idiot. So if somebody knows better, please correct me. But basically, they have a certain, like, a limited amount of slots that they allow people to apply into specialties from. So say that there's like 10 ortho slots. They'll look at, you know, all the people doing the HPSP and in U-Shoes, like their actual school, who want to apply orthopedics, and they'll be like, you 10 can apply to orthopedics. And that's that. You know, it's the military. You can't really tell them no. Unless I think there is an option for you to give up your scholarship, and then you, like, immediately owe the government all the money that they gave you. So that's fun. So there's restrictions on specialty choice. Once you are in the military and you're paying back, you know, whatever amount of time that, you know, you were compensated for, you're making like 150 grand. So if you're in pediatrics, maybe that's not such a bad option. But if you're wanting to do like anesthesia or surgery, that's a solid like $400,000 pay cut per year, right? So, is that $400,000 a year worth the, you know, $60,000 a year that they paid you during med school? Probably not, right? Probably not. And you're still, you know, kind of at their service. And then there's also this other thing that they do. They make you something called a flight surgeon, where you're basically just like a, you know, an intern forever before you actually start residency, and they just kind of jerk you around as cheap labor. So yeah, that's a dangerous card to play. So again, unless you're just wanting to go into the military anyway, and this sort of kills two birds with one stone, I would not do that. Had a buddy in the Navy who eventually got an anesthesia residency, but had to do several years as a flight surgeon. Yeah, there you go. Yep. So, that's, and again, that's all opportunity cost, right? Those years came at 450 grand per year. Or, you know, minus whatever he made as a flight surgeon. So, say 400 grand a year. It gets expensive fast. So, yeah, it's not a good deal. They lure you in with the like, oh, pay for school, which sounds great, right? If you don't know any better. But then if you think about kind of the big picture, they get you. They get you real good. So what I would recommend most people at least set themselves up for is, so it used to be the pay or repay program, depending on how exactly your personal loans are formatted. But what it is it's income-based repayment. So just create a scenario where that's a possibility for you. Looking at this and your stomach was sinking. Let's see. Oh, dude. Yeah, this is low. That is low. There. Or is this per year? Oh, okay, yeah, that's per year. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that seems more likely. I thought we were talking like $101,000 total. I was like, no way. So yeah, 400 grand. That's probably about what you're looking at these days. So when I did it, when did I go to med school? 2008. So 15 years ago. When I did it, in-state tuition in Missouri, and I was an in-state Missourian, was 38 grand. Arkansas was like 35 out of state, which is really weird. But in any event, so my tuition was 35,000. I went to Arkansas. And that has obviously just only continued to increase. So, yeah. The median med school, or excuse me, average med school debt now is like 212,000 or something last time I looked. And that factors in a lot of zeros, because there's lots of people who, either have scholarships for whatever reason, whose parents pay for it, for their tuition. So I would say realistically, average, like, median debt is probably like 300,000 or maybe higher. Med school tuition's catching up to dental school tuition? Oh no, is dental school that expensive? I didn't realize that. That sucks. So anyway, what I was going to say is, so set yourself up for the repay loan, which is basically a program that if you pay on your loans for 10 consecutive years, you can't miss a payment. I don't think you can even be late. I think you have to make everything on time. But if you do that to the government, and you work at a qualifying institution the whole time, which basically every residency will be a qualifying institution, but it has to be like a non-profit, basically. I think that's not universally true, but basically it has to be a non-profit thing, so keep that in mind. And those are generally the hospitals where you make less money. So, no? Ahsoka's basically, or apparently out. Cool. Interesting. Dental school's very costly and fewer loans. Interesting. Look at dental fees, 120 a year. Oh my god, $120,000 per year. Is that the total expense? Or is that just the tuition? Bring this back up. So I guess what I'm asking, is it $50,000 more expensive or 25 total? Okay, yeah, so it's like 20 to 25 grand more expensive. That's still ridiculous. Oh, that's so nuts. But yeah, so the repay loan, basically pay your taxes, or sorry, your first year of residency, file your income tax. So even though presumably as a fourth year med student you made zero money, you want to file that year, so you can start the repay process, and your income-based repayment will be $0. That's like one of those tricks. So basically you just get a free year. And then during residency, I think for most people it's like, $600 to $800 or something. And then after that you start, kind of getting chunked every month, but you'll pay off your loans in, 10 total years. Opinion about EU med schools? I don't know anything about European med schools, quite frankly. I've heard that they're not as good. And they're a lot different, right? Because I think people go into med school directly, like, out of what we would consider high school. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know a whole lot about that process, but I think that's correct. So they're structured a lot differently. And they also sort of have a similar system to like what we sort of alluded to in the military, where you kind of have to have a certain amount of clout or experience to advance. So residency might not just be a set amount of time. So that's kind of a bummer. But yeah, if your goal is to go to the US, like do residency in the US, don't leave the US. So even if you were to get an education that's of comparable quality, international medical grads match much more poorly than US medical grads in the match. Like I don't remember the numbers from this current year, but they were bad. I think it's like under 50%. So don't do that. Ophthalmology down 7%. That's weird. And emergency medicine down 6%. Where's emergency medicine on here? There you go, 350. That also seems low. That seems. I think this is just kind of low across the board, honestly. But again, it includes a bunch of academics, so. Let's see, specialties more involved with procedures, continue to see more volume as the pandemic eased, sure. Cool. Anesthesiology comp trend, yeah, this is definitely true. Yeah, local salaries have increased like 15% in 2 years. It's crazy. Let's see, PCPs, overall, sure. Yeah, I mean, this just reflects what I was talking about earlier, like, everybody freaking retired during the pandemic. It's 6 years after high school in Europe? Okay, gotcha. Supply and demand is the biggest driver. Well, thank you. Not all practitioners enjoyed an increase for second straight year. Anesthesiologists who experienced a dip blamed other factors than in the prior year. What? Huh? Job loss, reduction in hours? Okay. I don't know who's making less money. Average incentive bonus by specialty. Yeah, orthopedics makes sense. Those guys crush it. Let's see, who earns more, men or women? It's so weird that there's an income gap. So I don't know, like, I don't know where that's coming from, because, like, generally speaking, all groups have, like, a standard contract. So they're like, this is what we pay any of our doctors, so everybody just makes the same amount, and your pay progresses in the same way, you know? So, like, maybe there's some bonuses for, like, seniority, or, you know, ownership of the group, or whatever. But, yeah, I don't know why there's any disparity there at all. But I guess that's the problem, right? Let's see. What competition affects your income? My income has not been affected by competition from the sources listed here. Yeah, agree. Oh, this is just anesthesiologist in particular. Why would... I don't understand why any of these things would impact an anesthesiologist's income. It's like, what are you doing that a nurse practitioner is affecting your income? Let's see, do anesthesiologists take extra work to supplement their income? Yeah. Yeah, I'd say most people I know with jobs that offer lots of, like vacation time do at least some locums work. I had to work 3 jobs at once for fear of my clinic closing. Okay. If I didn't have income from 2 other medical businesses where I'm the medical director, I would have to close my 100-patient solo practice. So this is just saying I'm a financial idiot, right? So he has income that it sounds like he's just feeding into his failing practice. So don't do that. Here's a thought. Don't do that. Go get a job doing something else. Alright, which physicians feel fairly paid? I feel fairly paid. I will qualify that. Given the market that we exist in, I feel fairly paid. I feel like physicians as a whole are heinously underpaid for the service that we provide and like the difficulty and rigor of the education that we have to go through and the cost of said education. I think the compensation is very underwhelming. But yes, I have a pretty good lifestyle, and I am, given the circumstances that I find myself in, I am happy with it. With the income. Let's see. We got our hours per shift cut. 11. Yeah, I was 500 grand in debt. I think I had 530 when I came out. 530 grand in debt. And it was 12 years. Yep. That's a lot, if you include college. That's a lot. Or no, actually, I did 9 semesters college, so it was 13 years. So that's fun. Got our hours per shift cut, the number of shifts per month cut, and now with Medicare cuts, let's talk about getting our salary cut. So, okay. So, the way that this is framed, like, they did not get a salary cut and worked less hours and fewer shifts. Right? Am I reading that wrong? And now they're being threatened to have a salary cut. Okay. Cardiologists and administrators who were working from home part of the year received their full bonus. I mean, does this have anything to do with... Like, you well have to wonder about these things. It's like, does this have to do with, you know, some sort of market force, or is this just, like, this guy whining? $17 for a visit and a $10 copay. That is nothing. Nothing. I would choose medicine again. Anesthesia 75%. He's bitching about cards, exactly. Yeah, it's hilarious. It's like cardiologists and administrators? Okay. Like, I too am jealous of the crowd who can do their job from home, but, you know, I'm not mad at them. I'm mad at me for not choosing better. I would choose medicine again. I probably would not choose medicine again. Yeah, EM is very low. Burnout in emergency medicine is very real. The way that most emergency rooms run is really confusing to me. They do some very weird shifts. You know, there's shifts that, like, you know, they'll start like late afternoon and end in the middle of the night. Like, why are you doing that? Just work overnight. You know, go in at like 10 and get off at 6 or 11 to 7. You know, don't do this weird like 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. shit. That doesn't make any sense at all. And then they change them. What would I have done if not medicine? Probably something in finance or business. Most likely. I'm a numbers guy. And I am fanatical enough to pay attention to little market fluctuations and capitalize on those. I would choose the same specialty. I would choose the same specialty, assuming that I were to choose medicine again. Let's see. Hours per week. Anesthesiologist been seeing patients. Well, all of them that I'm at work, basically. So, since I have recently discovered that I'm, you know, working basically 40 hours a week, I'll go with that. 53% are with patients 34 hours a week. Great. Yeah, but I mean, my patients are always asleep, which is fantastic. Except when I first see them, most of the time. Hours per week anesthesiologists spend on paperwork and administration? Oh, it's more than 9. Because like I said, I'm kind of continuously doing this all day, every day. Yeah, I have to imagine I spend way more than 9 hours. Probably more like up here. I'd say 14, 15. Probably like 3-ish hours per day. That seems right. Charting into an EHR can add up to 1.5 hours per day. Yeah, that is definitely the case for me. Dropping Medicare and Medicaid patients. Nope. No, we are not. We will provide service to anybody who comes through the door. Is this considered on the books during 40 hours? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just, like I said, I never stay late or do any work outside of actual work. I refuse to. I write our schedule. I will not do that at home unless there's, like, some emergent reason that I need to. If I had the option to do an MD and an MBA, would I take it? Probably. MBA is really useful. Very, very useful. Even if it costs you an extra year, that's probably worth the opportunity cost. I mean, that said, you can pretty much teach yourself all of that online. Maybe for free, or for at least cheap. I mean, shit, I taught myself med school online. Why not business? What does an MBA give you? Lots of things. So it makes you basically a more savvy negotiator. It makes you understand market forces better. It makes you, like, more prone to understand contracts and, like, what's being asked of you. There's kind of this whole, like, business language that in medicine you never really are privy to. You know, it helps with negotiations. If you want to go into administration, it's a big leg up there. Yeah, an MBA is, like, super useful. And if you want to open your own business, you know, if you want to go into business or invest in stuff, then that's a useful thing to have. So, yeah, it's very difficult to get rid of Medicare and Medicaid because so many patients who are having surgeries are on Medicare and Medicaid. You know, they're 65 plus. That would be very difficult to get away from. Will anesthesiologists drop insurers that pay the least? No, it's inappropriate. Whatever. I'm trying to think what our option is. I think the answer is yes for most private practices. Like, United Healthcare is notorious for trying to gouge people on rates. And I think we did temporarily drop them. I think we picked them back up, though. When they figured out we were serious, they were like, oh, wait, actually, we do sort of want our patients to be able to have surgery there. Okay. Anesthesia's got a lot of leverage for that reason. Because if, like, they don't accept your insurance, your patients don't get surgery. And surgery is very expensive. Let's see. Fee for service? There's a lot of eat what you kill out there, huh? I did not know that. Steady, although slow decline in fee for service. Yeah. 59.5% of healthcare payments from insurers were tied to value and quality. That sucks. Being good at what I am, finding answers, diagnoses, making good money. There you go. That's me. Gratitude from and relationships with patients. They're asleep. Let's see. Being good at their job, making the world a better place, making good money. Meh. Most challenging part of my job, having to work long hours. That is, yeah, the schedule, I would say, is probably number one. Schedule is the hardest thing, because it's just all over the place. And that pretty much is true regardless of where you work, unless you're in a surgery center, which are the lower paying jobs. Kind of for obvious reasons, right? Like, it's a predictable schedule, no nights, no weekends, generally no call. Not necessarily shorter hours. Some surgery centers are really busy. They'll keep you there late, but yeah, typically those are lower paying. Most challenging part of your job, nothing. There's 3% of anesthesiologists are cocky assholes, it turns out. Difficulties with reimbursement, rules, regulations. Working with an EHR system, that's the most difficult part of the job. Okay. Demographics. Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, these are just, this is overall. Okay. By age. Less than 1% under 28. Yeah, I bet so. So pretty good spread across the age ranges, huh? 7% over 70, really? Wow. That's quite a bit more. Dude, I better not be doing this job when I'm 70 years old. Holy shit. I done fucked up if that's the case. Yeah, retirement. Hell yeah. Realistically, I'll probably be doing it till I pay my house off, which is 64. So, I would very much like it to be less than that. but we'll see. We will see. Alright, survey method. Yeah, I don't care. Alright, there you have it. That was actually kind of interesting. The last Medscape thing that we read on stream was terrible. I don't even remember what it was, but I remember basically just like immediately discounting it, be like, oh, this is a huge waste of all of our time. Did I ever meet folks who did an MBA and then went for an MD? I don't know. So I know plenty of career changers. And I know several people with MDs and MBAs, but I think all of those got them as a part of a combined program. And I know a few people who've like gotten an MBA like after graduating, you know, like when they're in practice and they're like, "Oh my god, I don't know anything about business." Which is sort of what happened to me, and that's why I you know, advocate doing that, getting an MBA, or at least educating yourself on business financial matters, because I'm still kind of a dunce. I ask my financial advisor a lot of really stupid questions. I mean, I don't really care, that's what I pay him for, but like it would be nice to, you know, have like heard these terms before and not just like have to have him explain like what all this really basic shit is. Like to understand retirement and like what the laws and regulations surrounding that are. Because that's a big perk that I feel like a lot of people just kind of overlook, especially young people. Like, you want a good retirement. That makes a huge difference. Investopedia? Yeah, I do know about Investopedia. I do now, at least. But yes, other people in chat may not. That is very helpful. Ow, ow, shit.
Not on my watch.
But yeah, there are lots of things like the income-based repayment thing that I mentioned. That would have been great to know about. Nobody ever told me about that. As it turns out, like I've sort of retroactively went back and, you know, calculated what like, you know, what my payments would have been and all that sort of thing. And I think I came out ahead, maybe just barely, doing the job that I'm doing. especially given how much interest rates just absolutely cratered during the pandemic. So, like, my loans are at 2.9% right now, which is freaking phenomenal. But obviously, you couldn't have predicted that, you know, coming out of residency. And I think my weighted average interest rate was like 6.5% to start with, and I've just like refinanced in such favorable conditions that I've driven that down all the way to 2.9, which is just ludicrous. But yeah, overall, and you know, I would have had to work at a like academic place most likely that I have zero interest in doing. I really sort of hate academic medicine, honestly. The pace and the like teaching and shit, I can't be fucked to do that. I enjoy teaching, but I don't like being forced to teach, if that makes sense. Like, we have anesthesiologist assistant students, and it's great. Like, you know, being able to teach them, like, something relevant about, like, whatever case we're doing, it's really cool. It's a lot of fun. And I feel like they actually get something out of it, and, you know, it's, like, an enjoyable experience for everybody, ultimately. Like, maybe kind of a stressful one for them, because I'm standing there, like, asking them questions. But, you know, I think after they sort of get to know me, they understand that I'm not, like, trying to bust their balls. I just want them to, like, think about what they're doing. But anyway, yeah, like, that sort of thing is fun for me, but it's not fun for me to, like, you know, have somebody be like, oh, yeah, your reimbursement is actually tied to you presenting this grand rounds, or you need to teach these lectures. Like, how about I don't? So, yeah, I'm glad that I didn't have to do that to satisfy the terms of the repay program. How about no? Exactly. How about I don't do that? That sounds like ass. Yikes. I am getting fucked. Yeah, and, you know, you make a lot less money in academics, too. But if my $530,000 worth of loans had suddenly vanished this year, it actually would have been this year, that would have been super cool. But yeah, my monthly payments were going to be gigantic. I think it was like $6,000 a month or something. I mean, they're still like $4,000, but still. Like, if you combine that with the fact that I would have probably made a solid, like, 60-ish grand less per year, it's pretty close to the same with a... I've forgotten how much the edge was to my current situation, but it was close enough to be a wash, basically. Like, I think currently I'm ahead like 50 grand or something, you know. Fairly nominal amount when you consider it's over 10 years. So being in academics does not relieve loan payment, but if you, well, hold that thought. So what I was referencing was the repay program, or the pay program through the government, which is where you have an income-based repayment amount that you owe them every month, and if you don't miss a payment for 10 years, then your loans are forgiven at the end of that term. So, pretty good deal, but, you know, like I said, my income-based repayment amount would have been really high, and you have to work at a not-for-profit center, or like a quote qualifying center, which basically means a non-profit center. So like major hospital chain, academic hospital chain, you know, county hospitals, stuff like that. And those places generally don't pay very well. I think the VA counts, though. So, like, if you're wanting to go to the VA and, like, cash in on their absolutely insane retirement, then that might be something to look into. It's 7 a.m. I should head to sleep. Yes, you should, but thank you for joining me. Appreciate it. Yeah, see, I didn't know that at all either. I didn't know it was until it was too late. Like, it was my last year of residency. And then I was like, well, shit, now it's definitely not a good time to do that, because all of my income-based repayment is going to be when I'm making a shitload of money, right? Like, you want those first years to be while you're in residency. And the first year is 0. Because, like I was saying, if you file income taxes for your M4 year, your 4th year med school, then you had no income, so you pay no money. And these are all things that both med schools and residencies need to tell you that they don't, or at least mine didn't. Like, that should be a mass email. It's like, hey, you dumbasses, file your taxes for last year. You know, it should be like a frickin' all caps email that they remind you of 5 different times. Yeah, but they don't. They don't. Which is just terrible, man. It's so irresponsible. They really leave you out to dry, and I resent that. Hardcore resent how I was treated financially in both med school and residency. And that's why we have talks like this, because somebody's got to get that information out there. And I know I don't exactly have the biggest audience in the world, but at least y'all will know, right? You can spread the word. Alright. Let's spin this point. Yeah, anytime, man. My pleasure. Like I said, I wish I had somebody telling me all this stuff. I would have made much smarter decisions if I did. Oh, what are my thoughts on Baldur's Gate 3? It's amazing. Sorry, I forgot Discord wasn't up. Totally amazing. I am very impressed with Baldur's Gate 3. And I would be playing it if I wasn't totally obsessed with this game. This Path of Exile just released their new league, and it is really cool. It's a lot of fun, but Baldur's Gate, that's one that I'll come back to again and again, I'm sure. So yeah, as far as like financial planning and stuff goes, I would get, even if you kind of know what you're doing, I would definitely get a financial advisor on board as soon as possible, just to kind of help you out. And maybe there's some things that you haven't thought of, like some tricks of the trade. I'll be playing Path of Exile till retirement. I probably will, honestly, because they keep refreshing it. They basically make it a new game every 3 months. But yeah, I floated the idea of my financial advisor coming on stream, and I think that'll probably happen at some point. I just haven't, my life, frankly, is not stable enough to commit to somebody, you know, a certain time, basically. And the last thing that I want to do is, you know, like, jerk him around and waste his time. He's got a family and he's got shit to do, so when I get to a point where I can actually be like, this time and this date, this is when we can do this, and I will definitely be there, then that'll happen. Another guy I want to interview is the dude who's made all the furniture in here. Like, I think something that we sort of lose sight of in medicine is that other people work really hard to succeed and do well in their respective fields also, and this guy's, you know, totally self-made. He built his own business from nothing. I don't know, he's kind of become a friend, you know, sort of maybe like a distant friend, but a friend nonetheless. And I don't know him super well, like, personally, but I do get the impression that he, like, you know, sort of humble origin, you know, put himself through college, like, learned his trade on his own, and, you know, basically just, like, bootstrapped it. Now he has this, like, super successful custom furniture business where he's like he sent me pictures where he like literally made I-beams, like he made the entire structure for like a large business. And he just like has these pictures of these huge like steel girders that he's, you know, like he crafted. And as I understand it, this is a place that like wanted a really, you know, kind of swanky modern look, because that's sort of what he does. Like industrial, modern sort of style. But yeah, he's just like, yeah, I'm actually making buildings now, like in my little shop outside of Green Bay. Like, That's pretty cool, man. But I think it'd be really interesting to talk to him and like see what his perspective on like hard work and stuff is, because it's so, you know, like I personally am so pigeonholed in this, like, you know, study hard, test, go to work really hard, go home sort of thing. Something to look forward to. Yeah, I would like to do more of that in the future. Now is not the time. Like I said, I just can't commit to that sort of you know, level of organization. Quite frankly, having a baby in the house just really destroys any semblance of like structure that you have in life. It's pretty rough. But yeah, I think like those are definitely my top two choices. But I would like to I'd like to do more stuff like that and talk to lots of people with a lot of different perspectives, and you know, that I've run into or that might have like something to offer, you know, especially like the medical community or whatnot. Almost turned this shit into a podcast, right? 4 weeks. Yeah, the beginning is tough, dude. You know, actually, like, in a sense, the very beginning, like the first 4 weeks, is kind of a grace period in a sense, because basically the like very newborn babies, they just sleep all the freaking time. Like if your friend's breastfeeding, that sort of sucks because, you know, they have to eat like every 2 hours, so that's really difficult to say the least. It's just every 2 hours around the clock. But yeah, they sleep. At least they sleep reliably. There's no like weird developmental bullshit to deal with. They're just like out to lunch constantly.
See you.
But then after that, that's when shit gets real. And they start like developing sleep patterns and yeah. It gets way harder.
All the filth of this world.
Yeah, I've having done this twice, I feel like I'm as qualified as any to say that I do not care for babies very much. Like I love my kid as like a person, don't get me wrong, but the whole like baby stage, the first like year and a half, I could do without that. It's very stressful, very confusing. Like even having done it before, it's just so much work. Not to mention expensive. Jesus Christ, babies are expensive. Like from start to finish, man. Like the hospital bill, the diapers, the food, the cleanup. It's all like all these weird ass products that you need to like apparently keep a baby alive, you know? And not give them like a 50% chance of dying from dysentery. Fancy swingy chair so they don't have to hold her. Yeah, so here's the thing. What happens if they don't like that? Because we had the fancy swingy chair. Both of our kids fucking hated it. They would not tolerate it. Yeah, everything is expensive. Every goddamn thing is expensive. We had a $2,000 crib that fortunately we were able to rent for our kid that everybody's like swears by, and it like rocks and makes noise and shit. And it's supposed to be amazing. It didn't do a goddamn thing for our kid. It was like mediocre. I shouldn't say it didn't do a damn thing, but it did very little that we couldn't achieve on our own. That was not, you know, I don't like regret getting it, but it was, you know, it was okay. And everything is that way, man. And it's all junk too. That's one of my biggest complaints with baby stuff, is it's all designed to fail like within 3 months, which generally is okay because you don't really need it to last more than that long because they change so fast. Like developmentally, they're just like done with it, you know, that quickly. But man, it's all plastic crap. It's all terrible. Cheaply made, you know, weak ass materials. Yeah, it's brutal. The entire experience is brutal. Mega rip, exactly. Yes, seriously. I think Disney's profit margins are ever going to reach historical levels. Well, that's a bit of a departure. I don't know. I don't know anything about Disney's business model. What are historical levels? I guess you'd have to know that too. Like when were they most profitable? Ooh, silver coin. So yeah, I plan once we kind of stabilize our, especially the sleep situation. Once sleep stabilizes a little bit, then we will be good to go. I really look forward to it, actually. I kind of enjoy making, you know, this weird content. Like, there's literally nobody else on the internet who's talking about medicine and playing video games right now. I guarantee it. Because I've looked it up. For a while, there was one dude who was doing it. He was a British guy. That's literally the only other, trying to figure if Disney is a buy. I'd say Disney is pretty much always a buy these days, man. With all the streaming services and shit. Like, there's no way that that's ever going to go down. But yeah, I've found a grand total of 2 other physicians, not counting Dr. K, who, like, routinely talk, or are physicians and play games, and only one of them ever talked about medicine. But he was a British dude, like I said. And I don't think he streams anymore. It is a cool niche to have. It's really weird. But hey, y'all have stuck with me though. It's the what the hell? Just did a full circle. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. I'm so bad at this game. But yeah, it's, you know, the whole point is to like make this situation relatable, because doctors in general are just like really fucked up weird people who can't talk to others. I mean, present company included, but you know, that's why I hide behind a video screen here. You like the cut of my jib, so I stuck around. Wonderful. Yeah, I mean, like, I know that there's, like, look how popular Dr. Mike is, right? That shit gets, like, 1 million views every time he slaps up some, like, ridiculous reaction content. So there's a market for that. There are people who want easily accessed, you know, like, medical information and stuff. And I did a Reddit AMA that got, like 2,500 upvotes or something. Like, some ludicrous amount of response. I spent literally a day and a half continuously answering questions. Like, I literally put in, like, 20 hours of work answering questions for that AMA. And so, like, there's a huge group of people who want to be able to, like, talk to somebody about medicine. You haven't stuck with it. Well, you're here, jerk face. I'm in your ear holes. Like it or not. Got him, yeah. I got him good. Oh, I can't move. There we go. But yeah, it's a popular idea, and I feel like if I generate enough visibility, I guess is the word, that this is something that people will like. And from the flip side, having been to med school, I know that there are plenty of nerdy ass like people in medicine and healthcare. And so, you know, talking about, you know, healthcare issues and stuff while gaming, there is a crowd for that. If I could have a mini promo on that Reddit, I paid for one, actually. I paid for advertising just to, like, see what happened. I think I got a few views out of it, but I'm not sure. Like, I think, I've forgotten how much I spent, but it wasn't much. I think I threw him like 50 bucks just to like get a couple, you know, couple ads up. There's a really poorly thought out, shittily done ad. But it got the point across. Yeah, worth a shot. I was just curious, you know, just seeing what happened. I feel like Facebook would be a better option, though. Let's see. I think I advertised in the pre-med, med school, residency, maybe the anesthesia Reddits, and I paid per click, I think. So like it's a pretty, I think it was pretty expensive per click. It was like 10 cents per click or something. Maybe it was more than that. I don't even know. I don't remember. I didn't put a whole lot of, you know, thought into this. I was just like, yeah, we'll see what happens. You withdrew your acceptance to med school? Oh, okay. That's good for you. That is a hard decision to make, especially if you hold an acceptance. Decided to go into tech because you won't have to take 330 tuition out? Yeah, well, you might have to take more than 330. I took 530, as we were discussing earlier. Want to be an anesthesiologist and get paid like 450? You are correct, according to our Medscape survey. Let's see. I want to go to... Alright, you know what? I'm just gonna refresh this bitch. Oh, that didn't work? Oh, no. Well, so we'll cut to the chase. Instead of the dramatic visual, yes. According to Medscape, anesthesiologists average 450 grand. However, if you move to the Midwest, you would make much more than that. But yes, as you say, it takes a lot of time, and if you're gonna go into tech and, you know, make probably well into six figures there, also, your opportunity cost for going into medicine is gigantic. Hey, Cheezel, what's up, man? How are you? Welcome back. Welcome back. Yeah, and then what if you didn't match in the specialty? That's a real concern. That's a huge concern these days. So anesthesia's match rate, I think, was like 83%. And like when I did it, it was, I mean, 99 or something. I mean, it was like, it was crazy. Like everybody who wanted to go into anesthesia matched. It's becoming less and less, I don't know, guaranteed is the right word. Less and less likely that you can choose your specialty, which is super sad, right? Like, you've got to go through all of this training and debt and everything, and then, like, you might not even get to do what you want. That sucks. Hardest decision by far? Yeah, that is a hard decision. Like, you put in the effort to get there, and we're successful, right? You were successful. Got into med school, you're good to go. But, man, I don't blame you. You know, like I said earlier, I probably wouldn't go into medicine under these circumstances. I would probably not choose medicine again. So if you've got an interest in tech and that's ready to go for you, then, man, good for you. Good for you on making the hard call. And I'm glad you came here and shared that, because I feel like you'd get a lot of negativity on a lot of you know, sort of like med school forum kind of stuff. Like if you were to post that on Reddit or like Student Doctor Network, I think you'd probably get like a mix of, you know, what I'm saying and then like, how dare you take up an acceptance slot, and, you know, you're giving away a golden opportunity, blah blah blah, medicine is everything. Those sorts of responses, which is, you know, basically exactly what you don't need to hear. And also way off base, in my opinion. Like, medicine is hard, dude. Private practice idea went out the window? Oh, no. Oh, they bailed. Oh, damn. Well, that was short-lived. Jesus. Currently making 94 a year. Oh, yeah. Man. Yeah, if you're crushing six figures, I mean, so even if you totally stayed where you are, right, Like, med school would cost you $800,000 in opportunity cost. I mean, that's a lot of money, right? Plus retirement, right? Plus your retirement. So probably closer to $1 million. And realistically, you're gonna, you know, you're gonna increase your salary, so your opportunity cost is probably closer to like 1.5. That is a lot of freaking money. And if you enjoy tech as well, then, you know, great. Do that. More power to you. Yeah, 94K is totally solid. That's a great income. Especially with upward mobility. And like we were kind of talking about earlier, one thing that really plagues medicine is like lack of upward mobility. You're just sort of stuck. You are where you are. And, you know, that's not universally true. Like surgeons, like our friend Cheezel here, can, you know, you can up your production, you can get more efficient, but even then, you know, that caps out, right? That's still the same position, you're just doing more. You're just working harder, being more efficient. You know, that's not like the corporate ladder where you can basically make any amount of money. You know, like, or if you sell real estate, like how much is a building worth? Just sell a bigger and bigger buildings. You know, like the sky is literally the limit. But yeah, I mean, tech, same way, right? Like, you get involved in some startup that sells out to, you know, some giant firm, then, hey, you are set for life. Like, a lot of med students are well off to start with, so they have room to err. Yeah, probably so. And a surprising amount of med students have parents paying for their loans, which I don't understand. Like, who can do that? And a lot of those people are doctors, like their parents are physicians. It's like, man, you've done something much smarter than I have, because I'm pretty sure I will never be able to afford that kind of tuition. Like, oh, you want to go to school that costs $60,000 a year? Yeah, I'll just write a check for that. No big deal. Not gonna happen, dude. Family doesn't have much, so that contributed. Yeah, well, I mean, if you can make some cash now, like good money, and support your family, if that's indeed what you're doing, then I get it. And like, let's be real, medical education sucks. Like, whether you enjoy the subject matter or not, it's just like, I mean, you'd hear the analogy, like, it's like drinking from a fire hose constantly. And I mean, it's kind of true. Like, you just get blasted and there's no breaks. Like, it may be cool, but you're just inundated with it, and there's no getting away from it. Residency is definitely the same way. With a heaping helping of, like, shit grunt work thrown in. Plus debt and terrible salary. Just too much of a good thing all the time. Most people outside of medicine think becoming a doctor is the best thing ever, the only way to make a lot of money. I mean, so, you know, to be fair, like, one nice thing about medicine is that you are guaranteed, like, a mid-six-figure salary, basically. You know, like, the lowest paid physicians are pediatricians, and they still make $250, right? So, and that is, like, you're gonna get that. Like, you graduate residency, you're gonna get that. But you also have shitloads of debt. Like, you know, you have tons of debt, takes tons of time. Training is awful. Like, I wouldn't wish residency on my worst enemy, man. It is terrible. What an absolutely atrocious use of 4 years of my life. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of perks to medicine, for sure. Lots of upside. Mostly the guarantee of, you know, a very in-demand career that pays well. That's, like, really, that's probably the biggest one. Devout Chainmail 5 link, huh? Alright, let's go sell off my shit. Did I ever feel intimidated by students whose parents are doctors? No. Not really. Like, actually, what they made me think of is if they actually wanted to do medicine. And I was like, are you here because your parents are doctors? Or are you here because you want to be... Oh, I apparently finished a quest that I forgot about. Let's see. Yeah, so long story short, man, I think like your reasons for veering away from medicine are very good. Not that you need my approval or anything, and I understand that that's a very difficult, difficult decision for you to make. But as someone on the inside, I do not think that you will regret that. What's this say? Once I make it big in social media. New people in Opto who said they would quit medicine if they didn't match? Jesus. Yeah, that sucks. One of your classmates had a parents at a doctor and he was kind of an idiot. I know a few of those. I know a few of those. Including one girl who, like, freaking blew her body weight in cocaine when she was in med school. I think she kind of straightened her shit out, but man, she was a mess. Don't have any doctors to talk to, so it's hard to get opinions. Yeah, I mean, most people don't, right? There's not a whole lot of physicians spending their time playing Path of Exile live and broadcasting it, right? Let's see. But yeah, my goal is to be accessible, as we discussed.
You're looking sharp. Good luck to you.
Yeah, it would be really nice if, do I still, like, still feel like I have a good skill set coming out of medicine? Skill set for what? Like, if I were to not do medicine, do I feel like I could be employed doing something else? Is that what you mean? I'm not sure. I don't think I would want to be a streamer professionally. That's such a volatile career, man. Like, if you really... If that's something that interests you, and it is something that interests me, go to this channel and follow this dude. No, not this guy. I don't know what the hell this is. I've mentioned this guy before.
How have you accomplished so much of these games?
So this guy is a marketing executive. He has his own marketing business and, like, represents some pretty big names in the entertainment industry, like digital media. And he talks a whole lot about what it takes to actually, like, make yourself a YouTube or Twitch star. And it's like, it's a shitload of work. Long story short, is it a ton of work and, like, takes a lot of smarts and sort of, like, market savvy, but also kind of like keeping your finger on the pulse of, like, what's popular and staying ahead of those trends. And it does not sound fun. Do I feel really well trained in medicine? Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I really like about anesthesia is that it's a very generalist kind of specialty. You kind of have to know a lot about everything. Like, you are a jack of all trades and master of most. Like, I know a whole lot of... I can't do surgery, but I know pretty much understand everything that there is to do in the surgeries, because I have to. You have to do that to be good at your job. You know, you've got to know, like, what parts of the surgery are coming and, like, what those mean for your patient. Like, you know, is something gonna destabilize my patient? Will they, you know, crash at this certain point? And things like that. So, you know, you kind of have to know the steps and understand like when a surgeon's doing a certain thing, like there's this much time left, you know, so you've got to start waking your patient up or like unparalyze them or things like that. So yes, I feel like I have been trained very well in medicine. And that's like one of my favorite things. Like I like knowing how stuff works, which is why I have a physics degree. Because I just want to know how like the universe works. And so I took a bunch of classes on that. So same deal. If you weren't in medicine, you'd do something in cars? That'd be pretty cool. Like what with cars? Would you make like custom cars? Like you'd fabricate stuff, or would you restore them, or what? So you also value family time a lot? And yeah, so family time is definitely a challenge in med school. Well, less in med school than residency, but still in med school for sure. Anesthesiologists have good work-life balance? I do. Yeah, I work, we actually talked about this earlier, and interestingly enough, I work about 40 hours a week, as of right now. I was kind of pushing 50 before we hired a new person, or 2 new people, an extra person, I should say. Yeah, before we hired an extra person, we were kind of borderline overworked, in my opinion. We worked really hard. But yes, I do have a good work-life balance. And the problem is I have a very unpredictable schedule that sort of, so it allows for some things, but also prevents others. And what I mean by that is like a lot of times I can pick my kid up from school. I can sometimes take him to school. But I also miss him coming home in the evenings, you know, when I'm on call. I don't have weekends free always because I work 15 weekends a year. Less than that now. I guess it'd be like 13 starting next year. But yeah, unpredictable schedule. You know, if I get rocked on call, I'm just a zombie the next day, so that sucks. And kind of takes away from family. But overall, yeah, pretty good quality of life. But that's something that is sort of at a premium in medicine, and again, another very good reason to not go into the field. Like, call is shit, you know, it sucks. Like, you know, I was kind of talking about how babies are terrible. Like, well, we have a baby, and when I'm on call, I can't be here to support my wife, and like, you know, go into the baby's room and like quiet her while my wife, you know, rests. Like, it's all on her. So, you know, that's stressful. It sucks. But, you know, but at the same time, I have a lot of time off. I've got 10 weeks of vacation. Our calls are generally pretty forgiving. So, you know, I have post-call days off, like legitimately days off. But, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of give and take, I guess is what I'm trying to say. 10 weeks off is crazy? Yes, it is. That's pretty much standard for around here. About 8 to 10 is typical. There's actually a group in town that has 13 weeks off, but they get destroyed all the time. They're at our, like, magnet hospital. If you don't know what that means, it's like the, they're the biggest Medicaid provider in the state of Missouri. And they just take freaking everyone. Their patients are sick as shit. They're like a level 1 trauma center in the hood, so they get lots of like shootings, and you know, their gun and knife club is very active. So, and those docs work their freaking balls off. They still do 24-hour calls, and they get crushed. But they make probably more money than anybody in town, and again, have 13 weeks of vacation. So, you know, give and take again. Yeah, I think isn't like 3 to 4 weeks pretty standard for most jobs, time off? That's what I'm led to believe. I've never had a like actual career in anything other than medicine, so I'm sort of an idiot on that front, but please fill me in. Am I able to take weeks off at once? Yeah, we take weeks. It's not days. So that's another drawback, is I basically cannot take time off. We set our vacation like 6 months in advance, and that's that. Like if you need a day, it's pretty, you know, relatively easy to trade with a partner. Like trade a day. Like maybe somebody will work one of their, like if they didn't leave town for their vacation, they'll, you know, they'll work a day for you, and you just like work a day of your vacation for them. You know, it's not that tough, but I think the total amount of sick days that the 8 people in my group have taken since I've been there is under 10 in 7 years. Like nobody ever calls in. Government jobs give 3 to 6 months? Really? Jesus. Man, why do I not have a government job? Normal jobs are 14 days. Yeah, so that's, what, like 3 weeks or something? It has to get approved, yeah, okay. Yeah, my wife ran into that a lot. So she actually, so we ran into, this is kind of an interesting story, actually. So they, like, she was trying to get time off. She was a nurse, and like all of her days kept getting denied. They wouldn't like approve any of the days that she requested. And she was having serious problems with that because, like, you know, we had shit to do, and I was a resident, so like I couldn't ever get time off. And so we were trying to, like, I forgot what we were trying to do at the time. But it was like something that one of us had to be present for, and again, like I just worked ridiculous hours, so that was her. But she could never get time off, and so we were like, okay, this is not working. And so we kind of looked into it, and this is around the time that, like, gay marriage was really kind of, you know, becoming widespread. And it turns out that her job had recently instituted a policy of, I don't even know what the right term would be, but basically, if you live with somebody and you have, like, a civil partnership, they can be on your insurance. And all you have to do is have like 2 witnesses sign a piece of paper that say, yes, these people are in like a civil union. And then you're good to go. And that's sort of an, you know, offshoot of like gay marriage not being legal, but they're sort of like tacitly accepting it. Because we're in Missouri and we live in the 1800s. And anyway, she got on my insurance and she was like, okay, I'm going to go PRN. And so she went PRN, made more money, got my insurance, which was awesome because I was at KU at the time and their health plan is badass. And so she made more money, worked whenever she wanted, and she actually ended up working more. So they just paid her more money to do the exact same job that she was already doing. And it was like 50% more money. It's a shitload of a raise. But yeah, the time off is definitely nice. But it's pretty stressful, man. Like, I can't really speak for other physician jobs, not having done them, but clinic sounds pretty awful. I'll say that. Working in the clinic all the time does not sound good for the mind or soul. Let's see, where did I want to go next? No, yeah, here we go. But, I mean, those guys, like, there's tons of production pressure in the clinic. But we routinely produce at 85th to 90th percentile nationally. I mean, we're busy as shit. But the whole, like, the mantra is work hard and go home early, you know? Like, we bust our balls, but as soon as, like, somebody can get cut, they out. You know, you're out the door. So, like, the people there are humping it, but, you know, again, when you can go, you get to go home. So that's why our hours are controlled, because everybody's very aggressive about that. Not obnoxiously so, but, you know, like, we're all looking out for each other, is kind of what I'm saying. So, with that, like, you kind of require a fair amount of downtime, and, like, you know, fortunately, we've been fortunate to not have any, like, major, you know, frequent bad patient outcomes, but that's part of the job. You know, that happens. You see super sick people, and when they have big surgeries, super sick people generally do badly, whether it's immediately or down the line. you know, you see a lot of death and, you know, people getting disfigured and maimed and stuff. Which, you know, kind of takes its toll, but... Infinite regression of the universe? I don't know what infinite regression is. Are you talking about, like, the big crunch, where the universe, like, stops expanding and then gravity pulls it back in on itself? Sort of like in an opposite Big Bang. Keep thinking that maybe you should become a doctor when you hear about the salary and benefits and prestige. Yeah, yeah, it's very. Some people make it seem very glamorous, but I mean, dang, dude, like the pandemic shows you all you need to know about what people actually think about doctors. Nobody gives a fuck, right? Everybody talks shit until they need you to save their life. As one of my patients famously said right before I intubated him, regarding the COVID vaccines, that ain't no fucking vaccine. And he promptly died of COVID a month later. Those were his last words, literally his last words. Whoops. Gene therapy, not a vaccine. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that his understanding of the situation was not quite on that level. Just to be nice. Doctors are basically worshipped. The same people say they don't trust doctors. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it goes, right? Like, I'm totally cool if you don't, like, want to have anything to do with me, just stay away. It's fine. Like, you don't want to come to the doctor? Don't. Great. I don't have a problem with that. But don't, like, drag me through the mud and then suddenly be like, oh, yeah, actually, about that. Just kidding. Can you help me? Can you save my life, please? Oh, you mean now I actually need you? Oh, shit. Oh, well. Yeah. Yeah, that's the stuff that just, like, the biggest of eye rolls for me. The biggest of eye rolls. The thought that, like, you know, physicians are like these wealthy, suave, you know, well-to-do people. Like, bitch, I'm playing video games wearing a frickin' stained undershirt right now. Ain't none of that polish up in here. The lipidomics part of the treatments? What do you mean? I've, like, basically forgotten everything that I once knew about the particulars of the COVID vaccines. Anything besides finances I wish I knew about medicine before getting into it? Oh yeah, I wish I knew more about the, like, rigors of the training. Yeah, absolutely. Like how fucking ass backwards the system and the people in it are. I mean, there's like, doctors are keeping doctors down. If you read, you know, any forums, there's plenty of people talking about, like, you know, well, I worked this long, so these people need to work this long too. Like, nah, man. Like, the hours that we put in are not quality hours. You know, these ridiculous, like, 30-plus hour calls and stuff where you're just getting your ass handed to you the whole time. You're not learning anything. You're just trying to survive. You're not providing good care. You know, it's dangerous for the patients. It's dangerous for the providers. Like, that shit needs to stop. Most people don't realize that the Fibervax was driven into the cells via fat cells. Oh yeah, yeah, it's super cool. I think all that stuff is awesome. How do you draw blood from someone super morbidly obese? Most people have some visible veins, so there are some tricks. So a lot of the time, even like massively obese people will have hand veins that you can see. If not, a lot of them have boob veins because like gravity pulls, you know, their boobs down, and they have like veins kind of like crossing their chest. So you can try that. You can use an ultrasound to find deeper, bigger veins. And if you really need to, you can put a central line in them. You can find their neck veins with ultrasound, because everybody obviously needs blood supply to their head. So, like, just put a central line in and draw labs out of that. That's a possibility. Residency was invented by a guy who did cocaine before doing 80 to 100-hour shifts. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that story. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, too. Like, the way things are run. But yeah, so many people are just like, well, I had to do this. And I think to some extent, like, they're, like, I kind of agree with the, like, the kernel of thought there that's like, hey, you have to do these things under some amount of duress so that, like, when you're on your own, you know how to do it and you don't have to rely on somebody else. Like, that I agree with. There is definitely value in, you know, trying to resuscitate somebody who's just been shot in the face. Like, that's important. And, you know, maybe doing it when you're a little on the sleep-deprived side is, you know, good for you. Like, doing that once or twice, great. But you know what? Then get somebody else in there. Like, have a system where that person gets relieved after they figure that shit out. Because, like, you're done. Medicine is literally crackhead energy. It is, dude. Yeah, crotch veins. Crotch veins also an option. But maybe not in super morbidly obese... Yeah, blah, blah. Super morbidly obese people. I think femoral lines are nasty. Or increase their pay beyond 13 an hour. Yeah, residency is just a total clusterfuck, man. They're moving towards unionization, which is about damn time. I mean, it's basically indentured servitude at this point, because the ACGME is, or yeah, ACGME is basically a monopoly. Like, I can't believe that they haven't suffered more antitrust issues. I mean, with the way that they treat residents and just, like, farm people out across the country. Like, oh, hey, this is your binding contract. Here's where your job is. How do I explain to a patient that you need to draw blood somewhere other than their arm or hand? Usually you don't have to explain that, honestly. You're just like, I'm looking for a vein to draw blood. And they're like, oh, okay. Because they can see just as well as you can, right? So they, like, look at their puffy-ass arm, and they're like, oh, well, there's probably nothing there. I don't really want you to stab me blindly, so have a look. The ploy of keeping residents tired is to help them not revolt, probably. Fatigue breeds apathy, right? I mean, it's a strategy that's been pretty successful, so can't blame them, I guess. Level am I? 61. Sweet. Yeah, I honestly have no idea why it's taken so long for residents to, like, get on that horse, man. It seems so easy, too, because, like, if residents strike, academic hospitals would shut down literally immediately. I mean, they are not staffed to handle that at all. They are 100% dependent on residents.
You know what you're doing.
But I get that it's, like, an intimidating thing to do because, you know, most you know, academic hospitals are billion-dollar businesses, and they've got the legal teams to show for it. So that's, you know, you get some, like, high-powered lawyer sending you a cease and desist, and you're just, like, a lowly resident trying to get through your residency so you can actually get a job. You know, you have no recourse, right? Like, residency's set up in such a way that if you lose your residency, you're fucked. So, you know, it seems like a high-stakes thing, but the hospitals don't want you going anywhere either, because then they can't function. They lose millions of dollars a day. Basically impossible to change the system, because if people revolt during residency, they get kicked out. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah. Yeah, and it's such a hard thing to push against. Because there's so much inertia. There's millions and millions of dollars at stake for these hospitals to, like, not pay residents more. I mean, even if they'd want to work you, you know, like a dog, like, at least pay appropriately, but they don't do that either. You know, residents, like, especially senior residents, should be making what a comparable mid-level would make, at least. You know, they should be making 150 plus, in my opinion. Like, at least. Probably more than that. I have 4 resident shadows at the moment, and I told one to stand in the corner earlier because he missed one of the answers to your question. That's awesome. That's well earned, I'm sure. More and more med students accept at an older age, so they basically have more life experience. Yeah, I mean, that's probably part of it. But it's also just, like, obviously such an abusive system. And quite frankly, I think it's because people are, like, kind of trending towards a little more milquetoasty these days. And, you know, kind of get their butts hurt when they get overworked. But, you know, again, that's very well warranted in the residencies situation. Asked him to point to the orbital bone and how he could fix it. Can't identify the orbital bone. That seems like a bad thing. Like, isn't that, like, I bet you if you just asked the public, like, probably at least a third of people would be able to correctly identify the orbital bone. If residents got paid 100K, you would have become a doctor? Yeah, right? So okay, so you sort of hit on something that I've thought for a long time. Like, I feel like we impose a lot of artificial restrictions on who can become a doctor. Like, the one that really leaps to mind is research. Why do you need research to be a clinical physician? I do not understand this. Like, why is that a good thing? I get it that it's important to be able to read research and understand science. That's kind of what you do all day, every day. Is evidence-based practice, so, you know, it would be nice to be able to read the evidence and critically interpret it. But as far as doing it, like, yeah, totally get making those opportunities available for the people who enjoy them and want to be a part of that. But why require that? You know, it's becoming a requirement to graduate from a lot of residencies, and it's basically a de facto requirement to qualify for med school, it seems like. So, I strongly disagree with that. And I think that'll dissuade a lot of people who have zero interest in research, or just, you know, didn't really know what they were doing and didn't get involved in research ahead of time, from being doctors. And that sucks, like, because that's totally unnecessary to be a physician. Are there anti-union rules? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It's probably a state-by-state thing. As far as residents are concerned. Not sure. I would fuck up some drug interactions quiz if given one. That's awesome.
I will never forget what you did here.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get stuck into your own specialty, right? I definitely do that, but I'm glad, as I mentioned earlier, that anesthesia's so, like, broad, you know? So you kind of get a good mix of everything all the time. Kind of stay up on stuff. Yeah, Chisel's got a pretty sweet job, man. I like that description. Stay away from the butts as much as possible. Ah, Jesus. Performance not great right at the moment. What is the problem? But yeah, I think we're heading towards using unionized residencies. There's lots of programs that are unionizing. I bet you within 20 years there'll probably be a national residency, or a national residency union rather. Mad Dreams, peace out. Thank you for hanging with me tonight. I appreciate that. GI is great. It's a good job. Not gonna lie. It's a bit too late. Yeah. I mean, it's just gonna take a long time until enough programs, like, you know, get the balls to unionize, and they're, but I mean, it's happening. It's happening all over the place. As soon as there are kind of enough to form a coalition, they'll start, you know, kind of like collectively bargaining. And that's when hospitals are fucked. Like, when collective bargaining is a thing across residencies, that's when this whole system comes crashing down. And I don't think that that's real far away. And it will gain momentum quickly. Because residents have just been shit on for so long and so thoroughly that it's just bound to happen. Now I'll do tech and move into being a CEO. That's right, man. You'll be my boss before too long. You'll make more money than me, too. Oh, damn. Oh, medicine. Well, I think I probably ought to go to bed. My daughter's sort of in the middle of not sleeping very much. CEO of the hospital suck. Yeah, it's not a fun job. I don't think I would enjoy that. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with me. Good to see you, as always. I will not be back Sunday because I'm on call. Oh, you're welcome. Please don't forget to man, English, it's really hard. Join Discord. Discord is right here. Please join. Hang out. Come talk with us if you haven't already. But yeah, always a pleasure, guys. I will see you Wednesday, most likely. I hope you have a great rest of the week. And, yeah. Enjoy Path of Exile, if that's your thing. Take it easy, everybody.